With warmer waters and just a few days left on our summer holiday, I wanted to make the most of the early mornings and low tides. The strong north winds were back and the swell was set to increase each day, causing many marks to be unfishable due to the large amounts of weed. Over my years of fishing the Portuguese coastline, I found the summer to be the slowest months, but you really never know in bass fishing, and it really can be dependent on the conditions at the time. On my next session I crossed a few gullies to reach a nice potential spot. I managed to hook a nice small bass from the start, which made the early start well worth it. Chillier winds and heavier swells meant I would need to use heavier lures. So, nice little bass to start. Easy one to bring up. Too heavy. Great, nice little one to start the morning off with. Hopefully there's something bigger out there today. Just tweaking the lure through is a really effective way to get a hit. Bass really love an erratic action on a lure, giving out those distress signals. It wasn't too long before I was on again, and this spot was proven to be perfect for a subsurface lure. After things went quiet, I moved on to a more sheltered mark that was a little more protected from the growing swell. I'd fished this spot in the past, and I liked the way the boils would break over some boulders out there, so I cast a few lures in that direction to see if there was anything around. And I wasn't too surprised when a big bass broke the surface, hitting my lure hard. Unfortunately it didn't connect, and it may have been trying to take out the already injured looking lure. Sometime later, I had another strike and was into another bass. This time it held. I didn't think it was the same bass that hit earlier, making such a big splash, but I'll never really know, and I certainly wasn't complaining now I was hooked up again. It's really interesting the different ways bass fight. Many will just head straight back out, some will sort of spend most of the energy trying to shake the hook out, or sometimes, like this one, it heads straight in for shore towards you. It's coming right in. I was actually quite pleased that this bass didn't put up too much of a fight. I just put on the 90 gram prototype tweak bait that I really couldn't afford to lose. There's quite a bit of swell out there, and the second cast I got hit from a really big bass. Hit it, followed it again and hit it again, but unfortunately it didn't connect. But I kept going, and yeah, I hooked this one. Came straight in. I think he was tired with all the swell out there. Just came straight in, but I'm not complaining. Although when I was fishing I was generally targeting bass, it was a family holiday and we managed to have a few really fun sessions catching mackerel. Over time, not only have I noticed a decrease in the numbers of bass, but mackerel also over the last few years.
Whoa, two big boys.
Getting my kids into fishing has not only been great fun, but it's also been a great help and good backup when you have more fishermen in the family. When it's 3 against 1, it certainly improves your chances of going fishing.
Hey, well done, Joshy.
On any sea fishing trip, you really need to be totally focused on the sea conditions around you. Eroding cliffs is quite a big danger in Portugal at the moment, and it was only this winter I was fishing from this very spot that has since fallen away into the sea.
With the constant north wind increasing, the swell stayed big, and sometimes it was so windy that even the 50-gram lures were blown out of the water. As it was a family holiday, there were quite a few late nights, and I was starting to feel the effects. The 5 o'clock starts were getting harder each time. But with just a few days left, and knowing I wouldn't be fishing until my next trip, I made the most of it and headed across a couple of very rough gullies to a deeper fishing spot compared to the shallow marks I spent most of the trip fishing. I was surprised to only come across a handful of anglers during the whole holiday. It was understandable on my last trip in February when some big storms hit, but this was the middle of summer. It was great to feel that you sort of had the whole coastline to yourself. Crossing over some of the gullies can really be quite tricky, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you've had a lot of experience in these conditions and feel fully confident. I've been fishing like this for well over 20 years, but I'm still really aware of how easy it is to make a bad decision. I stuck out the windy conditions and was rewarded with a nice bass.
Just had where it was before this, That's really nice conditions today. I'm glad I didn't stay in bed, because when that alarm clock went first thing in the morning, you could hear the wind howling outside. I thought, I want to stay in bed, but I thought if you don't go, you never know. And yeah, I'm happy I came anyway. It's lovely out here, not a bit chilly, and yeah, so it's the first one. I'm going to get cracking on again, so I can get another.
I had the feeling that more bass were likely to be around. It's just that feeling you get when you sense the conditions are just right. A little while later and I was into another nice sized bass. This time the bass had almost completely engulfed the lure in its mouth, trying to swallow it whole.
I had the tweak bait on here, can't see much of it, and swallowed it literally most of the way down. I'm going to quickly get that out now.
And there was still time for another. I stuck with a tweak bait, which was proving very effective in the conditions, and was soon rewarded with the third and final bass of the morning, this one again around the same size.
Well, that is bass number 3. It's about identical size, I would say, all of them. It's unbelievable. So they're not schooling bass, they're fairly decent size. Another one on the tweak bait. Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't got them on the video, people would think it's the same fish. I can assure you that
somehow convinced my wife to allow me to have a last quick session in the morning before we'd have to pack up the tent and make the long drive up to Lisbon airport. Wasting no time, I put on the 50-gram tweak and sent it out into the swell.
Sì, cioè sperimentare. Sì, è difficile.
I did bump into a few locals catching perceivs. It's a crustacean found on the rocks. It can be pretty dangerous trying to collect these, so they do hold a high price. After just a few minutes casting, I was on. This felt bigger than yesterday's bass and it wouldn't be easy to land. There was a difficult set of rocks right out in front of me. I would need to time this one just right, bringing the bass up over the ledge on a wave and making sure that it didn't get sucked back down over the ledge, breaking the line. So after negotiating it over a few rocks, it was just a case of climbing down to get it.
It's early morning, it's windy as hell out here. There's a few guys getting perceives there, looks pretty dodgy. And haven't been here that long, I hooked into this lovely bass on a tweak bait. They're using the 50 gram because it's so windy, it's hard to keep it in the water. So yeah, pretty happy with that.
During the next hours things were pretty quiet, so I decided to change rocks as I was running out of time. The turquoise water was looking so batty I just wasn't ready to go home, and I lost count of how many times I said to myself it was the last cast. So when I hooked into another bass, I knew it really would be the last cast and the end to a really nice fun trip again.
That's another nice one on the tweak bait there. Blimey, it's windy as hell, but still catching.
I think the fishing this summer turned out far better than I'd expected, and I'll definitely be going back satisfied that I had not only had a great summer holiday, but it's really had some decent catches and some good memories. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment.